So
I saw enough, Josh. I saw enough.
Yeah. Okay. At least it wasn't like the password manager or something. Actually, this is probably worse.
We now have the present button from within the meeting notes, which is nice.
Ah, they're very cool.
oh, very cool.
Well, maybe I guess that's not public. Oops.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Oh man. Cancel the recording.
All right, you guys are gonna win this game of chicken. I'll take notes.
I'm presenting it, just taking my computer.
I can take notes too.
No, it's okay. I'm on it.
You
All right. Yeah, but it's silly things. It's just making sure everyone's mentioned for a release that we're shipping. Actually, that's kind of important. Never mind. Yeah, Louis, it'd be great if you could take notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about release manager nominations again? Or sorry, who's running? Come around this. I'll shut up.
I thought you were you're presenting, right? Kevin said he'd follow up on a release manager. Kevin is currently on a ferry, so anyone else from Red Hat have an idea?
Can we get somebody other than Brian Avery from Red Hat? Because Brian has volunteered so many times.
Well, we needed 3, right?
Yeah.
I think we assume there will be one from Red Hat, but we still need one more, so we should figure out.
Yeah. It doesn't strictly have to be from Red Hat. Is anybody on this call interested?
Or does anybody on this call know someone who's interested?
Yeah.
We'll send you Istio t-shirts if you are a release manager.
After COVID, when we get access to our closet full of stuff.
Lynn, does Solo have anyone to help you?
Probably not before we finish SoloCon. So.
All right. I guess we're waiting for Kevin to get back, and then we'll the 2 is okay if we have to have 2, but we'll keep working on it. So let's leave it on the agenda, and yeah, Kevin is literally on a boat, so. Oh, he got into the last meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, on that, I mean, are there companies that should contribute a release manager that have never done that before? Should we reach out to them and invite them?
I think Sven just leaned on Lynn.
Okay. Yes. Good call.
Anyone from Tetrate here? I don't know if they have done this.
Another good call.
You're missing Sriram, huh?
Yeah.
Or Huawei. All right.
I will tag some people from each company that we just mentioned in comments on the stock and see if they want to post somebody.
And is this something we should maybe also ask steering to help with? Reaching out to companies, would that be, I don't know if that would be helpful or not.
We can certainly bring it up in steering.
Okay.
I don't want to really block on it. If we get to 2, right? The 3rd is normally it's a learning role, right? Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, I added it future agenda for steering.
Yeah.
Okay. So I put in a comment for some Tetra people and Solo people. Who did I miss? Was there another company we mentioned?
Huawei or
Huawei. Thank you. Let me get some from Huawei.
It does. Hungry.
Intel too, right? I mean, they just hired Iris from IBM. So I know they have a big team also. So.
They hired.
Iris Dean. Actually, let me ask.
Oh, Iris. Yeah. Okay.
Let me ask her if they have any interest.
Okay.
We get some users to help us.
Yeah, there you go.
If they're not mad at us enough.
I don't actually have Zongu's email address, so I can't tag him. Does anybody? If anyone knows it, just add it to the comment.
He's on Slack.
Yeah. Okay, I'll reach out to him on Slack.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
I'll reach out for you, Josh. I'll reach both of them together. Since
Okay,
you
great.
have policy, I don't. And now I work for a small company.
No, I can. I'm not worried about that. I can totally do it.
But I'll help you. No worries.
All right. Let's keep moving.
All right, we have docs for offline review. Release manager expectations. Did everyone read this?
No.
Not last week. I didn't.
Brian, are you on? Brian here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
So is this merely a codification of what people are already doing, or are we introducing new things here?
This isn't introducing new things. This is codification of what we're already doing and estimates of the amount of time things take.
Okay, sounds great.
So what do you want TOC to do? Like, do you want
TOC asked me to come up with a list of expectations.
Okay.
So this is the response.
Got
Thank you, Brian. Okay.
TOC fully acknowledges you doing a good job.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
I did actually read it, and it looks good. It's a good list. Do we want to put it into Markdown somewhere, or leave it as a doc, or what do we want to do with
Good
it?
call.
I can take it and put it in Markdown, maybe open a PR against community.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be useful. And it sort of lives on, and then people can comment on the PR too. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, good work, Brian. I've read through it too.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together. Thanks for.
Yep.
No problem.
Oh, actually, now that we have this, I will tell the people we just invited to contributor release manager to take a look at this so they understand what they're getting into. Very timely. This is great.
Jacob, alpha promotion of gateway topology.
Yeah, so that was talked about a couple weeks ago. There's still a couple of outstanding PRs, so I'll just bring this back up hopefully next TOC.
Okay. That's good. So extensions and telemetry. Yearly roadmap, is that what's next?
Doug?
Yeah, happy to talk through it. If you scroll down a bit. Yeah, so the top two items on our 2021 roadmap are related to WASM, both through deciding and getting an API for the extensions, but also deciding and standardizing on an image format.
Yes, Wayne, sorry. Can you zoom in a little bit, please?
Yeah, sorry. My computer is going very, very slow.
Thank you.
Let's see, let me widen things too.
Yeah. So most of our 2021 roadmap is about defining these APIs both for the WASM, rate limiting, and then the telemetry API, which we've talked about for a while, but now really would like to make progress on. And a lot of these APIs have overlaps with some of the extension providers work that's been put in for the XDoth stuff in mesh config, and we know that, or in the discussions for those APIs, use of extension providers has come up. And so I put on our roadmap some, contributing to whatever a better extension provider's API is here, because I think there's a lot of interplay between the WASM extension API, the telemetry API, and the extensions provider API, whatever form that ends up taking. So I volunteer some of my time to help figure that out, but I think that's going to have to be driven out of the environments working group as well.
Hey, Doug, one thing that I think is kind of raising to our awareness just now is that as we focus more on, say, upgrade testing and making sure we don't break backwards compatibility, the WASM extension API needs a lot of scrutiny. I'm not sure if everyone who's contributing to that understands that it needs to be very stable or at least migratable if we change it from one release to another. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it absolutely needs a bunch of scrutiny. We just met this morning to talk through some of that. Daniel is doing a good job of trying to shepherd it along, but it is going to need input, not just from the telemetry and extensions working group, but from others. And separating out, we're trying to keep it fairly well scoped, narrowly focused, so that it doesn't fall into a general purpose Envoy filter API and some of the same traps. But
thank you.
Yeah, we would welcome more input from everyone, and we hope that it gets tons of scrutiny, but still able to make some progress, get to experimental state by the end of 110, hopefully.
So how can we help from TOC?
Well, I was going to ping a couple of you after this meeting with the doc, maybe just start getting some early looks at it. I think Daniel is going to take a pass at, based on some feedback, by Tuesday. And there's the WASM SIG meeting on Tuesday, and hopefully after that, we can share it more broadly. I mean, the big thing for me is the alignment. I think the alignment between that and some of the work that's going to go on with extensions providers, making sure that we are aligned there. I think the bigger decisions are going to be the things that Josh was alluding to, is just like, how can we keep it narrowly focused on dynamic extensions? How do we avoid trying to make it too general and potentially have backwards compatibility issues? So to the extent that the TOC members are aware of that and can provide feedback there, that would be super useful.
Yeah, so I would love to be involved. So just so everyone knows, I think my focus going forward would be focused on extension systems, either the control plane or data plane, based on Solos leads. So this is the area I would be very interested in participating and helping out.
Lynn, can you shoot me your new email address? I'll make sure you get added to everything. You may already be added. I'll just make sure.
Yeah, I'll Slack you.
Okay.
I did put my email on the TOC meeting minutes, I think maybe 2
I'll get it
weeks
from there
ago.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a special interest group inside of the extensions telemetry working group that's meeting to discuss some of the extension stuff on Tuesday afternoons. So if you can't find that information, make sure to reach out to me, and I'll make sure that you're aware of that.
Okay, I will find those out on the calendar. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so Doug, obviously this is a pretty, well, both the telemetry API and the extension, and any refactoring or improvements in the extension API are pretty impactful. So yeah, I think certainly I would want to make sure that I'm there and providing timely feedback to you guys so you can make progress and that we can get some of this stuff done for the next release. So if you can make sure that TOC members know when and where those discussions are happening so we can show up.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, we had a sort of an unblocking meeting this morning. And so as soon as that feedback is incorporated, I think we should have another meeting with broader TOC participation.
Okay, yeah, make sure whatever docs you guys have that you capture alternatives considered, because it helps particularly TOC members not rehash conversations when we come in. with our eyes because we haven't been part of the discussion so far.
Sure.
Or not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Take notes to get us all caught up.
exactly. And just one minor thing for me. I mean, some of those meetings are in time zones which are not friendly for me. So my feedback will be asynchronous. So capturing that information, the discussions that happen in meeting are very important for me at least. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, we have to balance Europe, West Coast, and other time zones too. So yeah, we'll need to do a better job.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Okay. There's some work left from transferring over from mixer-based telemetry, and that's where the metrics expiry comes in. This is going to take some design work and some work probably in upstream Envoy, but that's why that line is there. And then part of the WASM experience, we just want to get better at stabilizing and documenting and providing better developer experience. And so that's what the next entry is about. And then, we have all these integrations, and we've moved some of them to the samples directory about how to integrate with Prometheus and the Prometheus operator and Grafana, et cetera. But we sort of left them alone and haven't given them much thought. And I think that there is work that will need to be done over the course of the year on providing better documentation as the third-party integrations change and improve and provide different features. And so I just want to call out that we do need to do some maintenance work there on continuing to make sure we're providing smooth integration story with the rest of the ecosystem. Can you scroll down, Sven? And then related to that is that we haven't really done any dashboard updates for the ones that come out of the box with Istio in a long time.
Sorry.
Yep, that's okay. So there was some work that was started on that for 1.9. It's been waylaid a little bit. I think we need to really find some time this year to prioritize updating that. This includes things like adding multi-cluster dashboards, adding dashboards that show VM features better, using canonical service to provide new information, that sort of thing. So that's what that roadmap item is for. The next one is a stretch goal, but I think we saw this called out in the general roadmap that was presented at IstioCon last week, is moving eventually to not having our own build of Envoy that includes all these sort of Istio-specific extensions built in. So that is a stretch goal, and we hope to make progress on that at some point during the year. We don't really have an owner for that yet, but hopefully we'll be, by the second half of the year, we'll be able to start thinking more about that and make progress towards that goal. Request classification, this is, allowing you to say, hey, these requests came in for this particular path, and using it for metrics and logs. That feature, I think there was some controversy about it making it to beta, but this is about continuing that progress towards getting it to be stable and marked as GA. Let's see.
Quick question
Yeah,
here, Doug.
Yep.
So for this feature, is this gated on being GA based on a first-class telemetry API? Just because, the controversy is that currently this relies on Envoy filter. Is that dependency correct?
I think that dependency would be correct. I don't think that we have a proposal laying out what's required there yet to get to GA. So part of that would be defining it, and we can define it as needing to move off from Envoy filter and using either the extensions API or the telemetry API.
Okay.
The last three items on the roadmap are things that we think would be useful. I don't know how much progress will be made. Resource metrics, we've had a lot of people ask for metrics around configuration, especially Istio configuration objects. We had some of that in some levels at various times in the past. So bringing that out from what its experimental state into a more formal state and making it useful and documented is one of the goals for 2021. For Envoy, and as part of the telemetry API design, we were looking at how you could better configure access logging and making access logging work more like the mixer-ish access log, attribute-based access logging that we had in the 1.0 days. And so this notion of bringing in a cell-based access logger into Envoy and then exposing that to the telemetry API was something we were hoping to get to in 2021. And the last one is just using taking advantage of the ability to put exemplars in tracing, just to make telemetry more useful and to show links between traces and metrics and logs. And so that's a feature that I'm sort of interested in. I mean, it's a P3 because I don't know how much time I'll have to devote to that. But this has been sort of a long-standing goal to provide even more detailed and useful telemetry out of Istio.
So one of the things that we haven't really ever done in Istio is pick a kind of default solution like we picked Prometheus for log indexing and searching as an out-of-the-box experience. I'm not sure, but I get the sense that Kubernetes might be getting close to nominating something in that space. I'm trying to remember what the hell the name of it was. And it wasn't Elastic. If they
Talking about
do,
Loki or something.
Yeah, maybe Loki.
Yeah,
That's right. I don't know if it's a burning issue, but it does help. It would be interesting to think about it for the out-of-the-box experience. Because it also gives us something to hook into as part of the kind of standard debugging UX, right? Because we have to make recommendations to people. Like, if there's an issue, then here's how you go find it. And if one of the ways we can tell people to find issues and diagnose things is by searching in logs with these keywords or with these structures, then it has an uplift on the UX.
So do you see this falling in the maintain, upgrade, third-party integrations, or do you want this called out? Do you think this should be called out as a separate item? Improve debug.
I mean, it's a general purpose logging experience thing. Okay. Most log aggregation tools provide the same basic set of capabilities, right? Mm-hmm. More or less. There's no, well, I haven't looked in a while. There's no kind of open logging, structured logging standardization going on, right? Like there is for open telemetry.
Right.
There has been for access logs, but people just follow few well-known proxies. But Louis, before we dive into the details of this, we went in a different direction for other metric solutions, right? So we actively moved Prometheus and Jaeger out of the default chart, and it's an opt-in by the users because we had production issues where people thought this was production ready. Jaeger, which was all in memory.
We go beyond that envelope. It's okay. More like whether we have a baseline integration that we use to validate that the logging experience works well, right? Just like we do with Prometheus and Grafana.
Do we need to go beyond kubectl logs in that case? Because any user of some which wants to do some production will have a logging provider of their choice, right?
So I guess that's the evaluation, right? How are we assessing whether we're making the lives of the structured logging systems easier, or making what we're putting into those logs useful in the context of a structured log indexer and searching tool?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
fair.
yeah, we don't have a good assessment of that. So I think that's
Okay. Like, and yeah, I mean, I don't think it preempts anything on your roadmap, by the way. But it is one of the experiential gaps of Istio in the typical deployment topology. I mean, I don't know if picking or not picking a winner in open source for, like, here's logging best practice if you're not using a commercial product, whether that's helping or hindering, and checking in with what Kubernetes is doing, because they're probably evaluating for the same reasons.
okay.
But maybe that's just an agenda item for the next telemetry and extensions meeting. Have a chat about it.
Sure.
I'm interested. So
Okay. I don't remember where I was, but I think we've covered the roadmap items.
Yeah.
So, are there any other questions or things that you think we're missing, or?
No, I really like it. I think this looks like a reboot of a lot of stable features. So I will just reinforce what Josh said, that we should make sure we carry the users with us and not break them. But if we implement most, even if not all of this, I think the users are going to have a much better experience going forward.
yeah. So we're going to have to figure how we transition the users. Like, that's going to have to be a big part of what we do, either tooling, automation, or just basic inbuilt back compile.
So Doug, next up was the Q1, or sorry, Q2. We're already through Q1. 1.10 roadmap. Do you have that as a separate doc, or do you want to just?
No, we don't have a separate doc. You can just, if you scroll to the right there and look at that. I mean, the big work for 1.10 are really the APIs. It's getting the WASM extension API and the telemetry API in a state that they can be used and start being played with, so that we can get feedback from a release on the concepts there and moving forward. There's some work on documenting and supporting the WASM experience that needs to happen, but really the main work for 1.10 is developing those APIs, and that's going to be our focus over the next 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks.
So in terms of API, Doug, are you going to also have official API for rate limiting instead of the Envoy filter API today?
So that was that's that third item, rate limit API. Kuat is involved in both that and the WASM extension API design. And so there's just some discussion this morning about whether or not we can make a single API cover both those use cases. And so I think that design needs to settle out a bit before I know if we're going to have separate APIs. But yes, the goal is to get that off of Envoy filter and have a way to represent that. So if it becomes a separate API, it will be a separate API.
Right, so there's kind of a parallel here, but with what Yangmin did for X.Z, which is an Envoy API that we made an Istio API through the provider mechanism.
Yeah, that was a great example. Yeah, to graduate as more users using them.
Yeah, so like I said, I think some of the overlap there is, is the extensions provider the way we all want to go forward, and what does that look like?
Yeah, Doug, just let us know how we can help. I think TOC is very interested in making those APIs make progress.
Okay, I will be sending more and more emails, so just let me know if I'm sending too many.
If you don't, I would suggest if you're not getting responses to emails, ping us over Slack or chat or whatever, or worst case, schedule some extra time, bring it up in TOC, whatever you need to make progress.
Show up in my way.
Yeah.
Show up in where?
Yeah.
Show up in Hawaii.
Yeah. Does the TOC cover the cost of ticket?
Louis covers it apparently. Before we move on, quick question here. How are you going to rate limit the introduction of these new APIs? I'm really worried about that.
You mean a meta rate limiting API?
I mean, like, what's the plan of facing this? Like, this feels like a complete upheaval of everything we do in telemetry. If it goes out in one release, it's going to be pain.
So, well, there's going to be pain. I mean, so I think for the telemetry API, the design, we're going to pick a subdomain like tracing or something and go there and get that sort of resolved. And, and I think there's some debate about whether it's tracing or metrics to go forward. And so we can choose to add domains or hold back domains, subdomains within telemetry as part of that API. So that's one option for rate limiting. I don't know how to, like, if we should not also do the WASM extensions at the same time as the telemetry API. It feels like those are both needed and they're distinct enough. I don't have a plan for staging those.
Neeraj, are you worried about like too many APIs or asking users to make too many changes?
Both, right? So currently, a user will have an envoy filter to do both WASM and insert custom metrics. Now we are saying, no, you need two APIs, two newer APIs need to understand and learn and implement to move to the newer version. So I guess it comes back to if you give proper tooling and help, I guess it can be mitigated. But something to keep an eye out. I'm really worried about this experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be clear, we've accumulated a bunch of telemetry API debt.
Yeah.
Right, and it's becoming pretty clear that that needs to get paid down. Other API debts have been paid down, right? We paid down networking debt like 18 months ago now. We paid down authorization policy debt, which was quite expensive and is still expensive because we learned some lessons about what isn't viable from a transition process. We can't not pay down this debt.
So maybe one way we can help mitigate a little bit is making sure when we do announce these that we have, really good documentation and tooling to help users. I don't know if that fully covers it, but we should at least try to help them as much as possible migrate.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Anything else you want to cover for 1.10, Doug?
No, I think if we're realistic, that's going to take up those two issues are going to take up all of our 110 air supply. Okay. So I think that's it.
Then you mentioned that your team's focus would be at Solo on a lot of extensions thing. You maybe want to help Doug out by signing up for some of the items on that list? Or not right now, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's a Solo probably towards the end of March. It's like so much to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely love to help, at least from, validation, try the different scenario, maybe for 110, given, I'll be missing most of the decode date of 110 because of SoloCon, but I should be able to provide perspective, maybe help you try different steps, validate, make improvements.
Yeah. Okay. I normally help the extensions working group, and I've been working with Doug and Mandar, so I can take point on it. But I think we'll need everyone else's reviews too.
Josh, do you have a question? You have a raised hand.
Sorry, it's a vestigial hand. Let me lower that.
His arm's getting very tired. Do we have product security? Are they doing 110 roadmap today?
Brian and Jacob?
Yeah, so we don't have anything specifically for 110, but for the year, we really want to start focusing on some of the, not reactive, whatever the opposite of reactive is. Missing that word. Huh? Proactive, thank you. So things like threat modeling, we don't currently have an expert in that, but that would be really useful for Istio. That's something that Francois brought up before he left. Dependency scanning, code scanning, and automated testing of CVE fixes. All those are things that we want to accomplish this year.
So do you have some sense of what you're going to be focusing on in 110 timeframe of those?
So the lower hanging fruit from there is the code scanning and the dependency scanning. My priority is reactive stuff before proactive stuff.
So Swain, other than that, we have lots of CVs to be fixed first. So I think that is going to be very important, and it will take time for 110 before we add anything, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to understand sort of what the priorities were and what are, because we have 1 P0 and 3 P1s here. Should be good to know kind of where you're going to be tackling them. So it sounds like reactive, all the reactive stuff, product security always does. And then plus hopefully dependency scanning. Okay.
Nature of the group.
And I would just put a plug in for the product security working group. I think there's a lot of work going on with lots of reports coming in. So if folks actually have a security background or interest in it, they should join the working group and help out. I know Josh will be happy if we get more people too.
Throwing this out here too, we need a lead as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Anyone have any other comments on that? All right, we'll go back to Jacob. Do you want to run through these two quick, and then maybe we can do remaining time for
yeah, sure. Yeah, so for the PR, so I'm just looking for feedback. There's been some discussion over the last couple of months about, feature status, and on Istio.io, or sorry, on the community markdown or whatever, we have a set of, this is what it means to be stable and experimental, and all of these other feature stages. Users have been asking us, can we get more clarification on the Istio.io website for this? So this is just trying to reconcile between the community one and what we display to users, so that there's kind of just one source of truth. So I'm just looking for feedback on this. There's obviously some wording where like they were talking about monthly cadence and whatnot on the community page. So I'm just looking for feedback on that. And then I guess some guidance, and we can talk about that later after I've tried to incorporate some more feedback. So just do that offline, I would say. And then the last thing is,
Neeraj already reviewed it, right? Neeraj, should the rest of us take a look at that too?
I don't think so. I mean, we reviewed the earlier version on GitHub pretty extensively. At least you and I did. So this is just moving the GitHub version to Istio.io.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I trust you.
Okay. Well, then that makes it easier. Great. And then we had talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to follow up on creating a Google group. I know Louis said he was doing some experimenting with Google groups for release announcements or things of that nature. So I just want status, and if we can get that approved and kind of get that published for people to have just an email mailing list for Istio. So
I was doing research on document and domain ownership stuff within the kind of the Google ecosystem. I think Craig picked up some of that. Sven, you were also looking at, but I don't think it's the same thing as the like Google group stuff. Like we can just create a Google group at publicgooglegroups.com.
Do we not already have an Istio announced Google group? We probably do.
I think we might.
Just resurrect it.
So I'm missing this. Why do we need it apart from Discuss?
I think it's just like other communities like Kubernetes and Golang, for instance, already have this. And I think it's I'm not sure how many people actively read Discuss daily, versus if they were to actually get an email, hey, you know, here's a CVE announcement, you know, please go update your Istio. This is just kind of based on at least some feedback I've received, and at least some thoughts. But okay, so we do have an Istio announce.
Yeah, the last announcement on it was announcing Discuss. But we can
Direct it.
By the way, Discuss, you can subscribe to all the notification too. I think John also made.
Discuss is kind of an isolated thing.
I don't think it hurts to have both. Right? It's like we could set up Discuss to forward to Istio-announce.
I don't actually know if we can. Should see if we can.
We should be able to. You can certainly set up groups to forward to Discuss.
Someone want to take looking into resurrecting that?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have ownership of it. I do not have ownership of it. Let me ask Greg. Yeah, can people try? Let's try track down who's the owner.
Yeah, I can't see it either.
Yeah, if I can't see it,
Louis, you're an owner.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, which Louis?
Oh, L Ryan at google.com.
Okay, I can see it after I switched to my old IBM ID. So we do own that account. It still belongs Google Group.
Jasmine's also an owner.
But it says abridged as subscription. Okay, it's just a send in a bundle.
We can still do this offline, right? I would like to discuss IstioCon if we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
An owner with his Google email.
And Jacob, we'll put it on site.
Okay, great, thank you.
Give Shweta ownership letter. All right. All right, Louis, roundtable.
Well, yeah, I just put it on the agenda, but probably, Lynn, you should maybe kick it off, seeing as you were on the program committee.
Oh, yes. I spent tons of time for that. So apologize if I was ignoring your review requests. It was very time consuming to produce IstioCon along with many of other folks. So I think, Louis, before you join, I apologize to folks that I got the data wrong. So on the first day, I saw 3,700 people on the day one keynote. And then on the night of the China keynote, I saw 3,900 people. So it turned out I learned on Friday, those are the registration number, and the crowdcast somehow, when you log in, you saw the registration number, but you thought it was the live attendance number. So that was not the live attendance number, which explains why throughout the week, you actually, I think we reached 4,000 either on Thursday morning or Friday morning. So that's explained the increase of the number. But the good news is on Friday, because I had to give a closing keynote, so I got all the data. We did receive really close, I don't recall if it's over or slightly under 3,000 live attendees. So this doesn't mean all the attendees show up for every single session. It means, you know, maybe this person showed up on this session, the other person showed up on a different session, but they are counted as one attendee, a unique attendee. On the first day of the keynote, we had the most people, which is around 1,000 live attendee attended the first day keynote. We had about 1,500 attendee watch the replay on Crowdcast just before Friday ends. But it's unclear if those people watch the replay actually are also the same people attended live, because we don't have that stats, but we do know those 1,500 watch the replay are part of the registration number, because you have to register to be able to see the live or the replay.
The attendance.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit.
I was just saying the attendance was very, very impressive.
Yes, still very impressive, I should say, even though I screw up the number on Twitter, but I was super, super excited about the attendance number. And I think I actually went to a lot of talk just to see what people message, like chat history for the talk. A lot of them are super positive. People are excited, you know, there are really good talks like eBay and Airbnb. They really drill down to details as to, you know, this is their architecture, this is how they move to Istio, this is their future plan. So really impressive. I think throughout the conference, most of the talks got a lot of thumbs up at the end. I would say the organizer committee did a really good job selecting these talks. So the speakers are very well prepared. And there was actually a lot of live demo on different talks too. So I was super impressed.
Yeah, no, I was super impressed as well. So even if this is just to see, were there any things that people noticed during the event that are worth raising here? Anybody have any technical takeaways or things that that jumped out at them when they listened to talks?
Or any focus area that we fixed? Oh, I'm hearing an echo.
I'm not hearing the echo.
Okay. So I was just asking. Geez, sorry, I'm hearing an echo. I'm gonna change my speakers.
He's trying.
Yeah, I don't think it was me. It's Glenn.
Okay, I'll be on mute.
Of course, now you should talk, but who are we waiting?
Okay, well, so I did actually wrote a blog about 5 key takeaways that I had. I guess I've heard a lot of users saying many positive things on what we have done, which is really cool. Like people say things about IstioD is like drastically simplified. I think people said a lot of good things about Helm 3. I think people clearly appreciated that. The test automation icon we added on Istio.io, I think that was received really well. People certainly love that feature. You know, they know that, you know, when they go through the steps, you know, it can actually work. So that was a huge thing. And I also took notes on T-Mobile. I think they were running 100 meshes. So that come up in the chat history. People were impressed. They were running that much number of meshes. I think these are the key ones. Oh, and then the other thing was, interestingly, both Salesforce and I think it was eBay, they both were building abstraction on top of Istio. So that was interesting. Salesforce built it using Helm, and eBay was building using their own customer resource. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, just a few more things to add, Lynn, on yours. I think one thing that jumped out to me was multi-tenancy in Istio is quite hard, and most of the users had issues with it. That's something we should think about. This multi-tenancy I'm talking about is making sure a developer from one team or an operator from one team cannot create resources which can conflict or affect the other team's deployment. This was mentioned a few times. Secondly, I echo what Lynn said around abstractions. Many people stress that the stability was not up to the mark as they would have liked, and they had to create a lot of abstraction around testing and automation to make sure the new releases don't break. So in that light, I think our roadmap projection for making Istio boring went well. So hopefully we deliver on that. And then third, we've got a fair amount of press pickup based on the quality of talks, the production use cases. So all in all, I think it was really positive.
Yeah, and John Howard got shout out many times too, because he's everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, Louis, I also added multi-cluster and the VM. So there were people talking about the VM and multi-cluster simplification, and they liked it too. Interestingly enough, Shiran actually approached me offline. He was so excited about the IstioCon outcome too. So
Cool.
I never heard from him, since he joined Google.
I'll go harass him later. But yeah, if there are talks that you haven't seen that are seem like they might be relevant to working groups, it's a great shortcut to getting user feedback. So I certainly encourage people to go back and look at replays. I'm actually going to do some of that this afternoon. All right. Thanks, everyone. I think we're good.
Me too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.